Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
Hello everyone, it's another episode of Hobby Quick Hits, episode 150 to be exact. Holy smokes, even when I think about, the combined shows, right? Sports Card Nation, we're in the high 220s, and this one 150. That's, almost 400 episodes combined. Where does the time go? Well, speaking of time, I just returned from a weekend trip, Friday, Saturday, left this morning, Sunday, just got back and recording this episode. I went to Springfield, Massachusetts for a card show and hobby panel at the Basketball Hall of Fame, the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, first time there. Invited by Rob Gerard, sports card therapist, and had a great time. So this show is going to talk about that trip in chronological order. Not going to make it any longer than it has to be. Just cover the main crux of kind of how the trip went, what I did, and all that it entailed. But before we get to that, let's hear from our great sponsors, Mojo Break. And after that, we'll get to some hobby news, the release schedule, and then the trip review.
MojoBreakShop.com is the best place to get your sealed wax products and breaks. They not only have the best selection, but the best prices. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they are your guys. They ship worldwide to your doorstep. Their reputation as one of the most trusted in the hobby goes unmatched. They are the 2021 Topps Rip Party Champion Breakers. From sports card to Pokemon cards, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders.
Hey guys, John Newman here. Mojo's prices are already great, but to save an additional 10% off anything in their store, use the code QUICKHITS. That's QUICKHITS. Check out the full-service store that's open 7 days a week in Santa Clara, California, or the website at mojobreak.com.
Let's check out this week's hobby wax releases. Take it away, Owen.
Hey guys, it's Owen from Sports Card Shop. Let's go over the weekly releases. On the 12th, we have 2022-23 Panini Prism Basketball, 2022-23 Panini Prism Premier League Soccer Breakaway, 2023 Premier Break of the Pieces of the Past Historical 1-of-1 Edition, 2023 Star Hidden Treasures Football Autographed Full-Size Helmet. And on the 14th, we have 2022-23 Vivid Basketball, 2022-23 Panini Donruss Soccer, 2022-23 Panini Playbook Football, Pokemon 2023 Mini Portfolio, 2022 Topps Dynasty Baseball, and the 19th we have 2023 Panini Prism WWE Undercard, 2022-23 Panini Revolutions Basketball, 2022-23 Panini Select La Liga Soccer, 2023 Super Break of the Pieces of the Past Art and Music, 2023 Super Glow One-Time Edition Series 1, 2022 Topps Metazoo Chrome, 2022 Upper Deck AEW Elite Wrestling, 2022 Upper Deck AEW Skybox Metal Universe, 2021-22 Upper Deck Credentials Hockey, 2021-22 Upper Deck SP Authentic Hockey, and on the 21st we have 2021-23 Leaf Optic Chrome Basketball, 2022 Panini Clearly Donruss Football, 2021-22 Panini Flawless Basketball, and last but not least 2023 Wild Card Auto Mania Rookie and Prospects Edition Baseball. Have a great day.
Congratulations to the Gocher family as they prepare to open up their second location, LCS. They're originals in New Buffalo, Michigan, going very strong, and they are working on opening up their Valparaiso, Indiana shop. And saw some pics. It's going to be very nice, as their first shop is too. So congratulations to the Gocher family.
Let's go round the hobbyverse and catch up on this week's hobby news.
Yep, it's the same old story, same old song and dance, my friends, as Steven Tyler so elegantly said. What am I talking about? Beckett, once again, happened at the Mint. Now, you got to remember, we do Hobby Quick Hits every other week now, so we have to cover 2 weeks of hobby news in each episode. So I know this is not new news. It happened at the Mint, but I wanted to give my take and report it on this show. And at the Mint, Beckett, who was there, announced a new Gem Mint grading scale. The first mistake that happened was their scale was wrong that they had up on the Mint wall to what they announced. So they had to put duct tape or some kind of tape over one part of it. So that looked not so hot. And then the grading scale announcement was met with a lot of resistance and uproar and people in the hobby not happy about it. And then the next day, and then they made this announcement on April 1st, and then the next day they said, never mind, after people complaining, we'll forget what we said. And again, it was another instance of Beckett shooting itself in the foot, and another bad look. And this company just continues to be unable to get out of its own way, and kind of self-inflicted wounds here. And don't know what direction they're going in. I'm not sure they do either. But once again, each of these mistakes just kind of compounds, and that window of opportunity closes for them to be really viable in the grading space against, as they once were. And I think they're tackling issues. Danny Black said this on Hobby Hotline, I believe. I believe they're tackling issues that aren't the biggest one. They've got to get their priorities in order. They need to get cards sent to them. You rarely see Beckett reveal videos on YouTube now with graded unboxings, and their name is just not talked about in the grading space like it used to be. And that's number one. They've got to try to get back on that ledge that they've fallen off. How do you do that? If you ask me, I know they don't like to do this when it comes to margins and ROI, but they got to lower their sub prices. They've got to get people sending in cards just because they're at $10 to $12 and get their name on YouTube like it used to be, rather than worry too much about a scale they've had for a while and not too many complaints about it before. So they got to get their priorities straight. I don't know who's calling the shots, if it's multiple people, and again, Keystone capers, but not a good look. So that's not the biggest story of the week. The biggest story of the week is Fanatics / Panini. You might remember some months back that Panini was rumored to be soon to be acquired by Fanatics. If you listen to certain people, it was all but done, all but announced, and then it kind of went dormant, went quiet, right? We didn't hear any more about that. I'm like, what happened, right? But it kind of the story just sort of went away. So what I believe happened was, I believe where there was smoke, there was fire, but I think the Fanatics offer to Panini was too low. They said, thanks, but no thanks. We're not selling to you for that price. You're not acquiring us for that price. And if you know anything about Michael Rubin and his Fanatics team, they are, cutthroat and very strategic, right? Nothing illegal here, but, they ain't messing around. So at the Mint Collective, it's been reported they made several offers to several top and important key cog executives at the Mint Collectives of Panini. A majority of those offers were accepted, and when the show was over and the Panini staff got back to the building on Monday, they turned in their resignations and announced they were taking their talents to the Fanatics side. And we're talking some major players on Panini. So this was like a major direct hit. You know, I use an analogy, right? It's like a battleship, right? And a torpedo hits right in the engine room, right? Where all the gears and you know, everything gets that ship going. Right to the center of the ship. And so what do you think the goal is, right? I mean, it's obvious, right? Fanatics wants to weaken Panini to a point where they have no choice but to sell to Fanatics, much like what they did with Topps, where they undermined Topps just before the SPAC was to go public and sunk that ship and all the potential stock value with it, and then acquired Topps, right? Very strategic. Some might call it, you know, a little low blow or dirty pull, but it's not illegal. All above board as far as financial laws go. And so I think it'll be very soon we hear Panini, sell to Fanatics. However, it's been reported on LinkedIn that, one of the higher-ups that stayed at Panini has listed those positions as available and is looking to fill them rather quickly. So Panini's trying to hustle and survive and keep their head above water. Let me go over some of the names that are going to Fanatics from Panini. VP of Product Development, Nick Medjevic. Director of Football Product Development, Rob Springs. Brand Managers, Tim Yoda and Adam Johnson. Tim Trout. Keith Hauer as well will be joining Fanatics. And there's probably more that we don't know the names officially yet. But half of the acquisitions department of Panini are joining Fanatics. So a big blow. Let's be frank, folks. Right, the goal of this is to get the licensing for basketball and football sooner than 2026. That's the strategic goal here. Stay tuned to see how the Fanatics turns, or how this winds up. Also at the Mint, Fanatics / Topps announced their Major League debut patches. Every rookie debut in the major leagues this year, that player will have a MLB debut patch on his shoulder sleeve, just the right size for a 1-of-1 card to be produced with that patch. No word on what product these patch cards will be put in. No word of how they will be distributed. Will be pack, will be redemption, although we know Fanatics does not like redemptions. We're not sure if there'll be RPAs or just the patch, but they will be 1-of-1. They have announced that. They're not going to cut the patch up into multiple pieces. It will be the whole patch. It will be a 1-of-1 card, and it's going to be interesting to see how these are distributed and, what these things go for once they're live on the secondary market, right? You got, Anthony Volpe, Yankees rookie starting shortstop, often compared to Derek Jeter, although it's very early for those comparisons. But what does that card of him bring once it's, pulled or acquired? So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. Babe Ruth bat, photo matched to being used at the Polo Grounds, has set the new record for most money at auction from a game used bat. Babe Ruth brought almost $2 million, $1,850,000. The seller, Justin Cornett, bought that bat in February of 2018 for $400,000. So it's always nice when you can always almost 5 times your money, especially when it's 5 times almost 5 times 400 K. And what made the difference? It went in the Hunt's auctions. What made the difference in the jump in value is the authentication of that bat to when it was used in Photomat. So congratulations to Justin Cornett. Robert Edward Auctions is rolling out their spring auction, highlighted by a PSA 9 Roberto Clemente 1955 top. Some other notables, say Jackie Robinson. I know a guy that likes him. 1949 Bowman PSA 9. That's a beautiful card. PSA 9, 1955 top Sandy Koufax rookie. I have half of a 9. I have a 4.5 SGC Koufax rookie, but they're going to have a 9. Bill Russell, 1957 Topps rookie, PSA 7.5, and a Jim Brown Topps rookie, SGC 8.5 will be some of the highlights. Babe Ruth baseball, single signed, rated 8.5 by PSA, with a mint 9 signature, and a 1921 Chrissy Masterson baseball dating to 1921, also at the Polo Grounds, and a 1940s Josh Gibson Type 1 photo, and 1913 Type 1 Joe Jackson photo by Charles Conlon. So many, many great items are rolling out in the REA spring auction. Head over to REA to check that out and bid if you're registered already, or if not, register to bid. Also, if you're of the reading persuasion, check out my monthly column at Sports Collectors Digest, sportscollectorsdigest.com. I did a feature on Nick Brower, who recently opened up a new card store in New Hartford, New York, and is doing very well. Check the Hobby is the People column out on sportscollectorsdigest.com.
And now, our feature presentation.
Let's talk about this Springfield, Massachusetts weekend trip. First off, thanks to Rob Gerard, sports car therapist, reached out to me about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. Said, hey, I'd love to have you come to the show, set up there and be part of the hobby panel that I'll be moderating on the Hall of Fame, Basketball Hall of Fame main stage. Check my, anytime you get an offer like that, that's a wonderful opportunity. Checked my schedule and made it happen. Happened to have the week off from school, spring break. So I left on Friday morning, and no event scheduled for Friday officially. So I came a day early to check out the Hall of Fame, the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Mass. Left my house around 6:45, got there about slightly after the Hall of Fame opened, around 10:15. It opens at 10, and spent a few hours checking the Hall of Fame out. It's the third Hall of Fame I've been to. I've been to Cooperstown for baseball and Canton for football, but this was my first time in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Really nice place. It's kind of a dome building in the middle of sort of a plaza mall, like a strip mall, but smaller scale. And it's not a huge place, but, they have a basketball court in the center. I heard one guy complaining, the one thing I was a little bit disappointed with the basketball halls, they don't have plaques or busts as the Baseball and Football Hall of Fame. They have kind of a glass panels with each year's inductions class etched in the paneling. Probably because of room. I'm told this is a newer version of the Basketball Hall of Fame, that it was in a different building, and they did things a little differently in the original building than they do here. The only other thing, that's, it is what it is. Still a beautiful place, still a Hall of Fame to pay your respects to the greats of the game. Lots of displays. The only other complaint that I can complain about or notice was not every piece of memorabilia in the glass displays had a description on on it. Some of it you could tell without a description, right? But a lot of things didn't, and you kind of had to let your, mind think to what that might be, or try to put two and two together. So I don't know if it's maybe a work in progress there, but I really had a good time. I spent a couple hours there. That's kind of all it took to go through, grab some lunch, and headed to Enfield, Connecticut, which is 7 miles away. That's where my hotel and where I was staying at. So I stayed in Enfield and made the long trek of 7 miles to Springfield. But after the Hall of Fame, grabbed a quick bite to eat, and then headed to my hotel room to check in, get my stuff all situated, kind of relaxed, watched a little TV, unwound, and then had made plans to go to dinner with Ken Carnes. Ken Carnes is the host of the Sports Card Lessons podcast, and I've gotten to know Ken a little bit more and talking to him and conversating with him. And he was excited to hear I was making the trip. He also was serving on the discussion panel on Saturday night. And he said, hey, man, I got some things to do earlier in the day, but how about Friday night? We grabbed some dinner, in Enfield. And we went to Longhorn Steakhouse right near my hotel, and couple hours spent with Ken over some steaks and ribeye, and was a great conversation, great camaraderie. Talked hobby, talked content creation, and talked life as well. And really, we probably could have talked a lot longer, but a couple hours, and then he was tired, I was tired, and it was time to get ready for the show the next day, right? And especially me, I'm a guy who likes to get there early and get set up, and this was uncharted territory for me, right? This was my first show out of state, and I think double-digit years. I used to do them all the time, and then kind of stayed local in the last decade. So want to thank Primetime Sports, John, for the hospitality and allowing me to set up at the Springfield show on Saturday. And, I set up. I was kind of in a block with 3 or 4 other folks, got to know them throughout the day and talking to them. And I will say this, the locals were very friendly, very helpful. One gentleman said, hey, before you leave, go to the Country Diner in Enfield. It's one of the best diners you can ever go to. Get some breakfast there before you head back to Syracuse. And I did listen to him. So Sunday morning, I did go to that diner and for breakfast, and it was very, very good. So he was right on point with that. The show was okay. Like for how I did, it was okay. I thought I would do a little bit better. A lot of hockey, and I didn't bring a lot of hockey, so I sort of guessed wrong. So I'll blame myself more than anyone else there. And a lot of times with a local show, sometimes the clientele, right, the consumers have their dealers they're sort of loyal and fond of. And I kind of saw a little bit of that, and I'm the new guy. And, I don't know if that was an X factor or not, but I'm sure it didn't, it didn't help. But people were great. I saw some people from Central New York who came up to my table and talked to me. Hey, it's weird seeing you here, but knew I was there. So those were great conversations. I had a few other gentlemen who were fans of the show, but didn't realize I was going to be fans of the podcast, Sports Card Nation. Didn't realize I was going to be set up there, and shook my hand, was glad to meet me in person for the first time. And that's always, obviously, a good feeling. JSA was on site doing authentication, and I have a Steph Curry personalized jersey that says, "To John, thanks, boss," on one letter, and he signed it on the other letter. I won't say who gave that to me, but it's from a hobby dignitary that I'm fortunately friends with, who was nice enough to give that to me. And I brought that with me knowing that JSA was going to be there, and I got that authenticated. I gave them the provenance and let them know how it was obtained and why and all that. And, in about 3 hours, they came back to my table, said it was done, and I'll get I get the letter and card in the mail, but they put the JSA sticker as they do on any authenticated jersey. So it's going to stay in my personal collection. It's not a for sale item, but I still wanted to get, that authenticated as genuine, which I already knew it was from who it came from and where it's the provenance of it. So the show, was 10 to 5. It was longer than my home shows here in Syracuse, which are 9 to 3. I'll say this, about 1 o'clock, it really seemed to slow down as far as spending goes. And I know there was a Mohegan Sun show like a week or two before that, and so maybe people had spent some of their money there. But still fun doing a show and seeing fresh faces, right, people? And I love all my regular faces too, don't get me wrong, but always different perspective, right? And the other thing I noticed doing the show is, and it gave me the idea to convert. I have kind of big, heavy Allstate aluminum glass cases, got some weight to them. The older I get, the heavier those showcases are to lug around. I've seen a good percentage of the dealers at the Springfield show using bulletin board, lockable bulletin board cases, like the cases you see on a school wall or a business wall with the salary requirements and notices, public notices. And I thought that was really interesting. And they look sharp. They're acrylic, so they scratch easily, and you cannot use like Windex, which I'm a Windex guy on my glass cases. But I did order a couple of these when I got back. And I'm going to convert my Allstate cases to these two instead of the Allstate. Travel a little bit lighter, a little thinner. They are definitely thinner, but a graded card will fit in it. So look forward to. I haven't got them yet, but I'm going to convert over to those. And I don't know how it is. I don't know if it's a Springfield thing or if this is a trend with shows. If you're a dealer and you use these or you've seen them, let me know that this is probably more than a Springfield thing. And I imagine it is. And I thought it was very cool to see those in action, and very portable, very light. And I'm trying to get more portable, and I'll talk a little bit about that when I get to Sunday. So show was over, loaded my car up, and the panel was an hour. The panel discussion was an hour after the show ended. So you had a little time to kind of pack up, load your car, and the Hall of Fame, where the hobby panel talk was, is about a mile away from where the show was at the Mass Mutual Center. So only took 8 minutes to get to the Hall of Fame. One thing I will say that's great about the Hall, especially compared to other Hall of Fames, the other two that I've been to, it has its own parking lot. The other two Hall of Fames, you got to try to find a spot on the street, which can be difficult at times, or park in their shuttle lots, which are a couple miles away, and take like a trolley or minibus to the hall. But the Basketball Hall of Fame has their own parking lot. They were closed. They were just open for the panel talk and then trade night following that. And so I got a nice close parking spot and went in. And let me tell you who was on the panel. Rob Gerard was the moderator. He asked questions himself and took questions from the audience. Some good questions there. The panel consisted of myself, Chris Costa of Costa Cards. They're opening up multiple retail locations in even some sports venues. John, the basketball card guy, who's a very prominent hobby gentleman. Ken Carnes, as I said earlier, sports card lessons. And MC Cards, Mike Cants, big consigner, big eBay seller, and does a lot of shows. He has quite the inventory. I'm sure I bought a few cards in the last few years myself from him. Maybe not even realizing it. Jake Roy, 90s basketball cards, did all the cinematography and ran the video, and also worked in the audience, taking the audience questions. And like I told Jake, he had every right to be up on the panel too, but he wanted to do that, and did a great job. So shout out to Jake as well. Shout out to Rob. Being a panel moderator, is like doing Hobby Hotline, is not as easy as some people make it look, and did a tremendous job. And we had some great questions from the audience about a lot of it, like where's the hobby going? What's the future of the hobby going like? Some tips about how can I be a better seller, or how do you adapt with an ever-changing hobby. Rob asked some, content creator questions as well, and it was a fun time. We all kind of took turns answering and sharing. Two guys shared one mic, and we would just pass it to the next guy. Very seamless, no issues, and it was a fun night. It was streamed on Rob's IG live, and I'm sure he left it up for posterity. You might hear it in a future audio episode as well. If you get a chance, take a listen. A lot of great information came out of the event. Had a decent amount of people in the crowd, and it was fun to do. The hour went quick to me anyway. It seemed like we had started, and it was time to wrap up. And that really was the end of my trip. I did go back to my hotel to get a night's sleep before heading back to Syracuse Sunday morning. And I am back now and recording this here pretty soon after my return to get this episode out on Monday, as I always do. And again, I want to thank all the powers that be. I want to thank Rob Gerard for the invite, John from the New England Card Show for his hospitality, Jake for doing that at the hobby panel, all my fellow hobby panelists, and Ken for his friendship, and getting to go to dinner with him Friday, and breaking the ice and finally meeting him in person. It was a great trip. Quick 3 days, 2.5 days, or whatever it worked out to be. And 3 hours and 15-minute drive. So driving back, went to breakfast at the Country Diner in Enfield. Definitely highly recommended if you're ever in that area. And then I got on the road about 7:15, and about 8 o'clock got on the road and made the trek home. Like I said, about a little over 3 hours. And when you drive and you're by yourself, right, you think about observations. And I really thought about, I got a show coming up here in Syracuse on the April 19th, and I saw some things, how people, you always take inspiration or ideas from how other people set up. So like I said, I got 2 of these bulletin board type cases coming to replace my over 20-year-old All-State cases, which are still battle tested. They've got definitely some war wounds, but it's time to go a little bit lighter and a little more modern, I'd say, with these bulletin board cases, which are not really designed for cards, but you never know it when you see cards in them. It's kind of funny. And so I got a couple of those coming, but I'm also going to redo some of the way I do my, monster boxes and shoe boxes with vintage and by player and by numbered cards and by variations and game use. I'm going to try to streamline it. There's some cards in those boxes that frankly probably shouldn't be there anymore. They're not as highly desirable. So I'm going to go through that and sort of freshen it up, take some stuff out, add some stuff to it. So if you're going to the Syracuse Fairground show on April 19th, you might see I definitely got some new table runners that I had already received before I did the Springfield show, so they were in action there. But I only had one table at the Springfield show, so had to sort of condense. So when you see me, if you're familiar with my setup, when you see me in April 19th, it will look different. I'll have some new cases. I'll have some new shelving that will be actually off the table and behind the table with wax that I have rather than have it on the table. And so I'll be doing some things differently. I'll have a different look. And you take inspiration sometimes from others. So that's probably, as far as the show was on Saturday, I think that was the most, the thing I got from it the most is change it up a little bit. Do something a little bit different and refresh your boxes. Do the shelving behind the table, new cases, and that sort of thing. So looking forward to my home show, right, and sort of having my clientele that kind of knows me and looks for me. That's always a nice perk to have, right? Kind of your home field advantage. So that'll be April 19th, and I got to try to get everything done before then, but somehow we'll get it done. There might be a couple late nights in there, but we'll make it happen. So with that being said, I want to again thank everyone that made the trip fun, made it possible. I don't always, get on the road that often. Obviously the National every year. Sometimes Dallas. I like to go to Dallas every year, but hasn't worked out exactly like that. And so when an opportunity arises to where you can do that, it's always fun, right? You don't know how many times that opportunity will present itself or if it will again. So when it does, it's always nice to take advantage. So thanks to everyone that I met or met for the first time and offered hospitality as well. So we're going to call that this week's episode of Hobby Quick Hits. Thank you out there for listening. If you enjoy the show, we appreciate great reviews. We appreciate your time. You could be listening to something else or doing something else, and you're here listening to me, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for it. We'll see you next time.